Hello everyone, what is up? It is me, AlbyMTG, and today I'm on DraftSim.com, and I'm going to be trying to go through my first attempt at a draft using their bots as my opponent. Of course, their bots go through and pick the best cards for them, and they put together some pretty comprehensive decks as well. So today we're going to be seeing what we can put together in my first attempt at a Dominaria draft. I'll go ahead and walk you through some card evaluations and walk you through how I would go through this draft. So we'll go ahead and refresh here, and we'll go ahead and take our first look. Well, that's not a very exciting way to start the draft. I was hoping to go through and actually get to talk about what some of the cards did, but we basically opened up the best card in the set, Lyra Dawnbringer. If you see Lyra Dawnbringer, you play Lyra Dawnbringer. That's basically how this format's going to go. So I wish I could walk you through a difficult pack one, pick one here, but it's pretty obviously Lyra Dawnbringer. Here, I think Teshar is another just fantastic card. It's something to keep in mind that we might want to pick up some historic spells to go along with Teshar here, because her ability does become quite strong with some additional historic spells. Of course, her ability says whenever you cast a historic spell, you get to return target creature card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So that's pretty nice. Here, notably, we're also passing what is probably the second best card in the pack here in Knight of Grace, so someone else is probably going to be taking this white card, which is kind of unfortunate, but I think Teshar is just quite strong here, and we're going to go ahead and pick that up. In terms of here, we could stay with Mesa Unicorn, again, just taking the best white card in the pack. However, I kind of like Nature Spiral. Nature Spiral was pretty strong. Notably, it might not be the best idea to just hop into green here, but we're not necessarily married to green if we just take this card. Basically, what I'm reading from this card is return target Lyra Dawnbringer that opponents somehow managed to deal with from your graveyard back to your hand. That's basically what I'm reading for this card, and I think with our deck having two powerful rays that we've drafted already, I think getting ways to bring them back from the graveyard, just assuring that we can play them as many times as possible, is probably the best possible way that we can go about this draft at this point in time. So I think it's between Nature Spiral and just Mesa Unicorn, another card in the pack. Blessed Light, of course, being a removal spell in white here as well. But I think I'm going to grab the Nature Spiral here. And we got past Yargle. Here, I think I'm just going to take Seal Away. Seal Away is a fantastic removal spell. For 2 mana, you basically get to exile a creature, which is fantastic. Can only exile tapped creatures, but most creatures in the set that you care about outside of, like, Lyra. I think Lyra might be like one of the only big creatures with vigilance. So yeah, just going to be taking the Seal Away here. Actually, does Lyra even have vigilance? No, she doesn't even have vigilance. You can use this to take care of a Lyra Dawnbringer. Anyway, this card is quite strong, and I think this shows us that the bots are not necessarily taking white cards. They must have opened rares that have put them in different colors. Sergeant at Arms is also just a fine card here, but I'm gladly going to take the Seal Away for the deck. Here we don't really have anything too strong. Curator's Wand is kind of interesting. You enchant a permanent, and then that permanent gets hexproof. And then whenever enchanted permanent leaves the battlefield, if it was historic, draw 2 cards. It's kind of an interesting little divination on layaway kind of card. But here I think I'm just going to grab the Mesa Unicorn. Taking a 2-drop for our white deck seems quite strong for us. Here, Merfolk Trickster is a strong one if we're in blue. Same with Slinvoda. But here, I think I'm just going to grab the Banalish Honor Guard. Again, just kind of keeping with the color that we're in currently. We want to try and get it so that our opponents aren't necessarily in this color. If your opponents see that there's not much white in the pack, they might want to move out of white. And we're pretty much solidified in white after opening up basically 3 really strong white cards here in Seal Away, Teshar, and Lyra. So here I'm just going to grab the Banalish Honor Guard, another fine 2-drop for that deck. Here I believe I'm just going to do the same thing. An additional Banalish Honor Guard seems fine. It's also the last white card in the pack, which could be signaling to our opponents, stay out of white. People are taking the white cards. Here there are quite a few white cards though. Corrosive Oovet's also just like a reasonable 2-drop. It's not fantastic, but it's like fine. So here I'm looking at Sergeant at Arms D'Avenant? Sure, that's how you say that, I guess. We'll just say the Trapper. So the Trapper, Call the Cavalry, or Sergeant at Arms. This is kind of an interesting one. I'm not sure which of these is the best, but I kind of like Call the Cavalry. Creating 2/2/2s with Vigilance seems fine. I think that's what I'm going to end up going with here. So we'll pick up a Call the Cavalry. This card here, Quend or Quende, Pride of Femeref. Legendary creatures always have the most interesting names. But it has double strike, and then creatures you control with first strike have double strike. How convenient. Lyra Dawnbringer has first strike. Lyra is so dumb. So dumb. So we're going to take Quende or Quend here, I believe. Another trapper here in the pack, and short sword's even like short sword's not something you want to play, but if you end up drafting Traxos in that first video I did where I walked you guys through my first attempt at a pre-release build with Dominaria, we ended up in like this Traxos historic deck where we ended up playing short sword just as a 1-mana historic spell. So here we'll pick up Quen, and we'll oops, someone down here liking a video on my YouTube channel, showing up down here in the bottom right hand corner. Here, best card in the pack, like, Unwind is fine. It's, oh wait, it's non-creature spell? This whole time I thought it was just counter target spell, untap 3 lands. This makes a whole lot more sense why this card is not as good. This whole time I thought they printed some ridiculous card at common. Okay, cool. Reading the card explains the card. Okay, this card is not great then. So here we're looking at either a sideboard card in Invoke the Divine, a Cloud Reader Sphinx, which is like fine, not great, Rat Colony, or Drudge Sentinel. Here I think I am just going to take the Invoke the Divine as the sideboard card. We're not really solidified into a second color yet. We do have a Nature Spiral, but there's also no green cards in the pack. So here I'm just going to take the sideboard card and Invoke the Divine. An additional 2/2 lifelinker for 2 seems fine. Sergeant at Arms coming back also seems fine. Dub is okay. It's not great, but it's fine. And we got Tolarian Scholar. Here in terms of, well, we opened up another white card as our rare. When it enters the battlefield, you may return target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. Whenever you cast a historic spell, put a 1/1 counter on it. So now that we have two, if we end up taking this, we then have 2 cards. We would have that and Teshar that really care about the historic cards. So I think that's what we're going to do, and we're going to try and start picking up some more of these 1-mana artifact cards like Navigator's Compass, which is a historic card because it's an artifact. And I'm sure that the Navigator's Compass will be here in the pack on the way back. If it's not, then we can pick up a Bard or an Aven Sentry. But in the meantime, we'll pick up this, and we'll start kind of remembering that we should start picking up some historic cards. Here we do have a historic card in Joyrus Familiar, but I kind of like just picking up a second Quend or Quende. In terms of things with first strike, outside of Lyra, we don't actually have anything. So actually Dub gives first strike as well, so that's something to be notable. So I think I am just going to pick up a second one of those. Outside of another Mesa Unicorn here is an option, but we already have 2, as well as 2 Banalish Honor Guards as well. So I think our 2-drops are fine. And based on how late that the Mesa Unicorn went in the last pack, I wouldn't be surprised if we ended up wheeling the Mesa Unicorn from this pack again. So I'll take one of these. We wheeled a second one of these, which is interesting. Maybe the bot has the bot must be evaluating this card a lot less than I am, or thinks that it's a lot worse than I am. Either that, or the people that are next to us are not in white, and so they're not taking this card. But we'll go ahead and pick up an additional one of these here. And again, there's another Navigator's Compass that we might be able to wheel. Sorcerer's Wand is fine. Pegasus Courser, though, is also a really strong 3-drop. When it attacks, another target attacking creature gains flying until end of turn. That can be really nice for our deck because we do have cards like, where are they? These Daring Archaeologists, that they're going to get +1/+1 counters on them whenever we cast historic spells, so they are going to get quite big. However, they don't have any evasion whatsoever. So Pegasus Courser could be a way of giving them some evasion, and I think that's what I'm going to end up taking out of this pack here. Here I'm going to grab an Adamant Will, just a reasonable combat trick. Sarah Disciple, another white card that cares about historic spells, so we really want to start wheeling some of these historic spells. Here we do have a rare still in the pack, but it's not one that we'd want to play. So here we can play, or we can get a Tragic Poet, a 3rd Mesa Unicorn, or we can pick up a Candle, which is a 1-mana artifact historic spell, so that's what I am going to grab. Here, there's not really much I like. I guess we're going to take the Wanderer here. It's a historic spell. It's not a fantastic one, but it's reasonable, so we'll grab it. Here, nothing we really want either. I guess we can grab Shauna. Shauna's probably reasonable. Venturous Impulse is also reasonable too. And it looks like we actually didn't wield the Navigator's Compass, so maybe someone, one of the other bots, drafted a Traxos, which would be pretty unfortunate for us. Here, I don't think we're going to play any of these cards, so I guess we'll grab an Arbor Armament. Here we could grab a Broken Bond for the board. We could just grab a 3-1, or we could grab one of these elephants. I do think I'm going to grab the 3-1. I think, based on what we have so far, the 3-1, if we can do a nice curve of Knight of New Benalia into dub, then we could have a 5-3 with first strike on turn 3, which would be quite strong. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that one. Whisper is a really sweet card. I wish this card was much better than it was. Here I think I am just going to take the Skin Witch instead. Here we'll grab a Relic Runner and a Feral Abomination. So notably, we did not wheel any of the historic cards that we wanted to wheel, so that's something to keep in mind. Again, we are just kind of like mono white here, which is kind of weird. Normally you would expect to end up going into 2 additional colors, or not 2 additional colors, but at least 1 additional color. But we are getting a bunch of white cards, and also since we're caring about historic cards, we are going to end up playing some colorless cards, which is nice. So here, Board the Weatherlight could be nice for our deck. Josu Vess is also just like a pretty strong card, but I don't think that based off of what we have so far that Josu Vess is really what we want. We could end up, what other black cards did we take so far? Basically nothing, right? Feral Abomination would be something we probably wouldn't play, and the Skin Witch is like fine, but not great. I think it's either another Sarah Disciple or Sparring Construct here. Sparring Construct or Board the Weatherlight. I'm torn between these 2 right now. And I think just based on how many 2-drops we've already drafted, I am just going to take the 1-drop here in the Sparring Construct. Again, another historic spell. Here, Steel Leaf Champion is quite strong if we're in green, but again, we're not in green, so I am going to pick up the Call the Cavalry here. Gideon's Reproach is at least some form of removal for us, so I'm going to pick that up. Here we do have a couple of options. There's another Honor Guard. There's a Memorial to Glory, which isn't too bad, and then we do have another Navigator's Compass. Here I'm going to pick up the Navigator's Compass, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 cards in the pack, so we might wheel the Healing Grace for the sideboard would be my guess, but I'm going to go ahead and grab the Navigator's Compass here. So Triumph of Gerard, let me go ahead and read through this real quick. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control with the greatest power twice, and then target creature you control with the greatest power gains flying, first strike, and lifelink until end of turn. That seems quite strong. It's either that or something like Charge. I think I'm going to pick up the Triumph here. Dauntless Bodyguard is a pretty nice pickup, however another Sparring Construct isn't too bad either. I think I'm just going to go ahead and grab the Bodyguard. It's quite a strong... Why is Muldrotha still here? Muldrotha should not still be here. This bot, sometimes the bot on this website. What does it have Muldrotha at? Has Muldrotha at a 3.7, why is it still in the pack? Whatever. Anyway, Howling Golem, I guess, is what I'm going to pick up here. You may put target historic permanent from your hand. That's not quite as good. I guess we'll pick up a Charge here. We'll pick up Board the Weatherlight, Glider, Assistant, Healing Grace, Charge, and Primordial Worm. Sure. Okay, so now we're into kind of the deck building aspect of things. So we'll go ahead and build our deck, and then we'll see what the bots picked, and we'll kind of critique what some of the bots chose for their choices. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, and that's about it. So we'll sort the pool. So, 26 cards. So I guess sorting the pool ruined what I had already clicked. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, I think was what I had originally selected. So this has 26 cards. Here we'll need to make some cuts. I think I'm going to cut one of these guys. I mean, it can give a Sarah's Disciple double strike, which is fine. Yeah, I think I'm just going to go with cutting one of those for now. And this still has 2 cuts remaining. I mean, we do curve out at 5. Like, there's the potential that we could be a 16 land deck, but I'd rather not. I think 17 lands is still probably where we want to be. I think our next cut is probably one of the Call the Cavalries. We did have another one, so this leads us to 24 cards. And so we could... It's kind of an interesting decision. We could just cut Quend again, and then just give up on that dream of trying to give things double strike. We could cut an Adamant Will, but I kind of don't like cutting one of those. We could cut one of the Honor Guards. That's probably not the worst idea. That would leave us with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 2-drops, as well as the possibility of playing Triumph of Gerard, or also just like some 1-drops at that time as well. So here, yeah, I think I'm just going to go ahead and cut an Honor Guard, and then this would be 17 white sources. So that would be just like a basic deck that we could build out of what we drafted. Something I do want to take a look at, though, is splashing for Nature's Spiral, and we could probably splash for Shauna. I think if we're splashing for Shauna, though, because she cares about each creature, we're going to want to go more wide with that, and so we'd probably do something like drop Dub and Quend and try and go up Spiral Shauna, something along those lines. And then this would be, we could drop, it's probably like 5 green sources. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because most of our white cards only require 1, so this would be like mono white, Nature Spiral to get back the cards that we really care about. Shauna also then just being another decent 2-drop for the deck. And then notably, we do only need like 5 green sources. The Navigator's Compass also acts as a green source for us as well. So I think this is also just like another option that we could go with, something along these lines. I don't think there's anything else. We wouldn't want to do the blue splash. We don't need Relic Runner. Our other 2-drops are just fine already. The black splash, not the best. The charges, I guess, are fine, but I think our card quality is high enough right here that we don't really need the charges in this specific deck. So I think I probably would have ended up, is this just, yeah, that's just a list of cards. I think I would have ended up with something like this after deck building. I think this deck seems pretty strong. Has a little historic theme to it, and we did also open just the dumbest card ever in Lyra. I guess not the dumbest card ever, but when it comes to this format, Lyra is going to be an absolutely insane card. So, um, opening up Lyra basically gets you at least the 2-1 in your draft, possibly the 3-0, assuming you draw it, of course. So yeah, I think I would have ended up playing something like this white splashing green for Nature Spiral and a Shauna Sisei's Legacy. I think this is what I would have ended up sleeving up had this been my draft. So we're gonna go ahead and just take a look really quickly at where are the bots. Wasn't there an option to view the bots? There we go, view bots. I just missed it. Okay, so bot 1 ended up in Teamer. Looks like Teamer, mainly red-green. Looks like they were kind of thinking about Teamer, but ended up just kind of being like the red-green kicker deck, which is fine. That's a reasonable deck. Bot 2 ended up in what appears to be blue-green, I would assume. Mainly blue, though, but blue-green probably. Having Tatiova to go along with Grow from the Ashes here is quite strong. So yeah, it looks like blue-green from this opponent. This opponent looks like red-white. Which this deck seems quite strong here from this person. They got the Knight of Grace that we passed in pack 1. So they were where some of our good white cards ended up going. Bot 4 looks like green-black. Looks like they also stole some good white cards from us, Sanctum Spirit and On Sarah's Wings in the beginning, but then again, we cut them on white, and so they ended up going more along the black-green route. And they had Demon Lord Belzenok, but more importantly, they had double Yargle, so their deck was obviously going to be fantastic. Bot 5, it looks like this person ended up being blue, like Jeskai, it looks like. Maybe red-white again. They had some decent blue cards, but most of their good stuff was red-white, and then they also had the Mishra's. They had double Knight of Grace too, which is quite strong. But then they had Mishra's Self-Replicator, so they were also stealing some of the historic spells from us, which is kind of unfortunate because again we wanted those. Bot 6 looks like green-blue again. Green-blue, and then they got the Muldrotha, so if they were already in green-blue, they probably splashed. Sorry about that. I just sneezed, and so I had to cut it out of the video. But this opponent ended up with Muldrotha, and they were already in blue-green, so they most likely just splashed black, and they also had some fixing as well with Grow from the Ashes and Adventurous Impulse to try and draw them into a... actually, they had double Growth from the Ashes to try and draw them into their black source, they'd be able to play the Muldrotha. And bot 7 looks like red-black. Red-black, not too bad. So as you can see, the bots do put together some reasonable decks. Again, this person had a Yargle too. There was 3 Yargles open. That's pretty legit. So yeah, these are what our opponents would have been on. I think our deck turned out alright. Basically mono white with just a light green splash. And then everyone else, all these other bots ended up in decent decks as well. Would have been a fun one to play out. Unfortunately, can't play them out here online unless we take them to something like Untap or a third party, something like that. So once again, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. I hope you guys enjoyed getting to see my thought process as I went through going to decide what cards I was supposed to pick based on the deck that I was drafting at the time. I wish our pack 1 pick 1 would have been a little bit more interesting, but like you see Lyra, you have to take Lyra. That's just kind of how drafting goes for this format. So once again, I hope you guys did enjoy it. Of course, drafting probably won't be a thing until after the set officially comes out. I know that's what we always do on the Friday after the set comes out for FNM. However, pre-release is coming up this weekend, so you'll get your first hand on the cards, and maybe you guys will get to see some of the cards that I opened up here. Maybe you guys will see that you can use some of these 1-mana artifacts like Compass and Candle to work well with your historic cards like Archaeologist, Teshar, and things like Board the Weatherlight to help you find them. And then hopefully you guys learned that you're all supposed to open Lyra, because if you open up Lyra, that's just fantastic. And then I hope you guys possibly learned something about doing a light splash in your deck as well. For just 2 cards here, Shauna and Nature's Spiral. We ended up basically monocolored, and then of course getting to play some of these artifacts really helped with keeping us in 1 color as well. Once again, hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you found it informative, go ahead and let me know in the comments down below, and let me know with a thumbs up as well. That would be absolutely fantastic. Of course, I hope you guys did enjoy the video, and I will see you guys here tomorrow with yet another video.